Por lo general, los fines de semana, al parecer es tradición que los republicanos salgan a defender alguna locura de Trump. Algo que haya hecho durante toda la semana. En esta ocasión no ha sido así. Hay un republicano que ha estado actuando un poco diferente. Se trata de Ron Paul. Él ha estado criticando y ha estado prometiendo votar en contra del famoso, gran y hermoso proyecto de ley. Este proyecto que le ha estado causando más problemas de lo que esperaba Trump. Pues señores, Trump ha estado completamente fuera de sí, lanzando amenazas en su red social favorita, Truth Social. Y bueno, como veremos en un momento, esas amenazas le están saliendo mal. Porque este republicano ha hablado en una entrevista donde contó con todo, lujos y detalles, lo que está sucediendo. Sean bienvenidos a Políticamente en Desacuerdo. Señores, hoy veremos cómo un republicano furioso abandona a Trump en vivo, mientras su amenaza fracasa. Así que los invito a que se queden hasta el final de este video porque veremos los detalles más interesantes. Pues bueno, señores, antes de ir a contarles y mostrarles lo que Ron Paul dijo, quiero mostrarles a un republicano que hizo todo lo contrario. Trató de defender a Trump y la verdad la embarró bien feo. Lógicamente se trata de Mike Johnson, el cual apareció en televisión diciendo esto. Escuchen.
Mr. Speaker, if the big beautiful bill does add to the debt, will President Trump own that?
It's not going to add to the debt, but I can tell you that President Trump is laser focused on two primary things: delivering on his campaign promises and the America First agenda, which is what a record number of 77 million voters, popular votes, requested and demanded and gave us a mandate to do. But he's also concerned, as I am, as Ron Johnson is, as Rand Paul is, as all of us are, about the nation's debt. And he and I talk about this frequently, and he is excited about changing that trajectory. That President Trump, I think, could be the most consequential president of the modern era because he has these opportunities to do these big things. The One Big Beautiful Bill is a big first step to provide relief for the American people, to give everybody more take-home pay, more money in their pocket, and to change the trajectory of the country. And again, it's the first of a number of steps, and President Trump is committed to doing this.
Mr. Speaker, the Joint Committee on Taxation, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, the Tax Foundation, the Penn-Wharton budget model all say this will add trillions of dollars to the deficit. Are you really telling the American people this will not add one penny to the debt and deficit? You can guarantee that?
I am telling you this is going to reduce the deficit. I mean, you cite some of these figures. Do you know what their economic growth projections are? The Committee for Responsible Budgeting, they're not even, I don't think they're assuming any economic growth. I mean, that's not realistic.
Obviamente, pues Mike Johnson está mintiendo. Y bien por Kristen Welker, ¿no? Por ponerlo en evidencia. La realidad es que los republicanos ni siquiera creen que algún día van a poder detener este gasto descontrolado, o al menos intentar hacer algo por arreglar el déficit. Ya lo aceptaron, simplemente no les importa. Hasta Lindsey Graham lo ha dicho, la idea de que en el futuro las cosas van a cambiar es una locura. Solo están pateando el problema para adelante, porque a Trump no le interesa nada de eso. Amigos, ya no hay conservadurismo fiscal en el Partido Republicano, solo se trata de un culto dedicado a Trump, excepto por algunos pocos, ¿no? Como Ron Paul. De vez en cuando sí les importa, ¿no? Un tema en específico. En este caso son los aranceles y los recortes al Medicaid y este desastre del presupuesto que provocará un déficit. Ojalá a Ron Paul le hubiera importado un poco más el tema, por ejemplo, del 6 de enero, ¿no? Pero bueno, al menos ahora está llamando a las cosas por su nombre. En esta entrevista contó los detalles muy duros sobre su conversación con Trump la semana pasada. Y para terminar esa parte, veamos qué opina, ¿no? De lo que está sucediendo en el Senado.
President has taken note of some of your skepticism, and he did tweet yesterday saying that if you, Rand Paul, vote against his massive border and tax bill, the people of Kentucky will never forgive you. Do you consider that a threat, and do you know if you have 3 other Republicans who will join you to block it from passage?
I had a very good conversation with the president this week about tariffs. He did most of the talking, and we don't agree exactly on the outcome. But when I come home to Kentucky, I talk to the Farm Bureau, which is opposed to the tariffs. I talk to the bourbon industry, which is opposed to the tariffs. I talk to the cargo companies, UPS, DHL, all of their pilots are opposed to it. I talk to the hardwood floor people. I talk to the people selling houses, building houses. I have no organized business interest in Kentucky for the tariffs. So I think it's worth the discussion, and it's worth people remembering that the Republicans used to be for lower taxes. Tariffs are a tax. So if you raise taxes on the private sector, that's not good for the private sector.
Well, you know, we hear from other senators who also get complaints from their people in their districts, but they're falling in line. Do you have 3 other Republicans who will stand with you to block this bill?
I think there are 4 of us at this point, and I would be very surprised if the bill at least is not modified in a good direction. Look, I want to vote for it. I'm for the tax cuts. I've voted for the tax cuts before. I want the tax cuts to be permanent. But at the same time, I don't want to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion. So I've told him if you take the debt ceiling off the bill, in all likelihood, I can vote for what the agreement is on the rest of the bill, and it doesn't have to be perfect to my liking, but I can't be. If I vote for the $5 trillion debt, who's left in Washington that cares about the debt? We will have lost. But the GOP will own the debt once they vote for this.
Como vimos, pues Trump amenazó a Ron Paul diciéndole que nunca lo perdonaría, ni él ni a la gente de Kentucky, por oponerse y votar en contra de este proyecto de ley. Pero parece que no solo en Kentucky están molestos, hay muchos otros republicanos cuyos votantes se verán afectados de forma brutal por los recortes al Medicaid. Y eso, al parecer, es algo que Trump no quiere entender. Seamos claros, Kentucky no es un estado que le esté pagando impuestos al gobierno federal. Al contrario, recibe fondos federales, al igual que otros estados republicanos como lo es Iowa, como lo es Alabama. No es Nueva York, no es California. No es Connecticut ni Massachusetts, que son estados que sí contribuyen más de lo que reciben. Por eso, amigos, lo más inteligente es votar en contra, tal y como lo está haciendo Ron Paul. Pero Trump parece vivir en otra realidad, porque escribió esto hace unas cuantas horas. Felicidades a todos por el buen trabajo. Estoy orgulloso y espero que el Senado esté con ustedes. La verdad, señores, es que no parece que el Senado vaya a respaldar a Trump como él quisiera. Ya lo ha dejado claro senadores como Ron Johnson, como Ron Paul, como Lindsey Graham. No es ninguna sorpresa. Este presupuesto es un desastre. Incluso Raphael Warnock, senador demócrata que votará en contra, dejó muy claro en esto con esta declaración.
And this is what this legislation does that they're trying to do. They're going to throw poor people away. I believe in work. And I recently released a study in Georgia that shows that this work reporting requirement, because that's what we're talking about, not work requirements, work reporting requirements is very good at kicking people off of their health care. It's not good at incentivizing work at all. There's something wrong-headed about this kind of view of poor people, of working class people, that somehow they don't want to go to work. We have seen this failed experiment in Georgia. We've got over 500,000 people in Georgia who are in the health care coverage gap. They are largely the working poor. The governor has put a program in place. He calls it prosperity to coverage. He ought to call it, or pathways to coverage. He ought to call it pathways or blockages to coverage because they've only enrolled about 7,000 people. That's pathetic. And the data clearly shows that if you want to get people to work, the way to do that is to provide them just basic health care so that they don't get sick. And what they're trying to do now is take this terrible experiment in Georgia, force it on the whole nation. And what we will see as a result of that is a workforce that is sicker and poorer and an economy that's weaker.
And we should note, actually, that Georgia is the only state right now with work requirements. I want to move on to another aspect of this bill. The bill allocates nearly $150 billion towards border security and immigration. Under this second Trump administration, border crossings are at some of their lowest levels ever recorded. Given that most voters, senators, say that this is a top issue, do you support the measures in this bill that would strengthen the border and border security?
Listen, I support strong borders. And we don't want to see people who are criminals, who are committing awful acts, allowed into our country. But what we need is common sense immigration laws in our country. What we are witnessing right now here in the state of Georgia, for example, a young college student who is doing well, has been here most of her life. She was accidentally picked up in a traffic stop. As it turns out, the police had it all wrong. They had the wrong person. But because of these draconian movements that we're seeing, this kind of singling out and othering people, this college student found herself in the grips of ICE. And now she's trying to navigate her way through the system. I don't believe that the people who voted for me and the people who voted for Donald Trump intended for this young woman, who is a bright young woman who already contributing to our society, to be caught up in the clutches of our immigration system. This is the politics of fear and division and distraction, and it's because they know that their agenda, their economic agenda, is not working.
And just yes or no, do you support the provisions that would strengthen border security, or are you a no on this entire bill? Just yes.
Listen, I supported a bipartisan bill last year that would have strengthened our border. It was largely a bill focused on giving our Border Patrol the things that they needed, and the Republicans decided to kill it in order to put Donald Trump in office.
All right. Let me talk to you now about the state of the Democratic Party. As you know, there's been a lot of focus on former President Biden, the state of his health in the waning days of the campaign. I want to read you a statement from one of former Vice President Kamala Harris's senior campaign advisors, David Plouffe. This is from the new book, Original Sin, which takes a look at Biden's 2024 campaign. Plouffe says, if Biden had decided in 2023 to drop out, we would have had a robust primary. Whitmer, Pritzker, Newsom, Buttigieg, Harris, and Klobuchar would have run. Warnock and Shapiro would have kicked the tires. Maybe Mark Cuban or a business person of some sort. 20% of governors and 30% of senators would have thought about it. We would have been eminently stronger. You were name checked there, Senator, so I have to give you a chance to respond. Would the Democratic Party have been stronger had President Biden dropped out of the race sooner or not run at all?
Kristen, here's what we absolutely know about last year's election. It's over. And I'm going to spend all of my energy focused on the task in front of us. We are headed into a very critical week. The Republicans are trying to push forward this big, ugly bill that's going to literally cut as many as 7 million Americans off of their health care. It is a drag not only on their health care, it's a drag on the American economy. They want to cut some $290 billion out of SNAP.
Y es que dijo algo muy importante. Ojalá los republicanos tuvieran un poco de carácter en otras ocasiones. No se entiende por qué tuvieron que esperar a que un tribunal tumbara los aranceles impuestos por Trump, cuando se supone que esa es una tarea que solo el Congreso debería de hacer, no el presidente. Además, esos aranceles hemos visto cómo han sido dañinos para la economía estadounidense. Y lo peor es que están dejando que un hombre, que claramente está en declive mental, siga manejando la economía del país. La verdad es que no entiendo por qué los senadores republicanos no encuentran el valor para alzar la voz en contra de Trump antes. Pero bueno, parece que tal vez este momento pueda ser diferente. Y bueno, señores, pasemos a otro tema, y es que Elon Musk vuelve a estar dentro del ojo público. Trump podría ir tras el dinero del hombre más rico del mundo. Ojo, no lo digo yo, lo dice Michael Cohen. Recordemos que es su ex abogado personal en su primer mandato. Si hay alguien que conoce los rincones más oscuros del cerebro de Trump, yo creo que es precisamente él. En una entrevista reciente, Cohen lanzó una predicción muy fuerte. Él asegura que este bromance entre Trump y Musk se ha roto y que ahora el presidente va a mover fichas para hundir a Elon Musk financieramente. No por estrategia, sino por ego. ¿Qué es lo que está en juego? Hablamos de subvenciones, reputación y lo de siempre. Un sucio juego de poder. Veamos este momento clave donde Cohen lo suelta todo.
Now is someone who knows Trump all too well, Michael Cohen, former personal attorney to Donald Trump. He is also the host of the Mea Culpa podcast and Substack top-rated host at The Real Michael Cohen. Michael, it's good to have you with us. You know somebody, you know Mike, you know Donald Trump better than others. You certainly know his psychology better than most. What did you make of his reaction to that soundbite? The fact that he is being called basically, well, I guess I don't want to say Taco Trump, but Taco it is.
It's a very delicious nickname, as humiliating.
Knowing Trump, he'll probably try to coin that and make money off of it down the road.
I think it's the word chicken that really...
It is. You're 100% correct. It's the word chicken because he doesn't want to be perceived as anything other than a superhero, right? Than a godlike figure. This is the whole problem. The problem is we're looking at it the wrong way. It's not getting to him. Yeah, it caught him off guard, and so he looks surprised. But it's not getting to him the way Democrats think. This isn't going to be the thing that changes the outcome of 2026. And as Democrats, we have to stop. We're never going to beat the bully in the playground when it comes to name calling. That Trump singularly owns. What we have to do is we have to start to impress upon people. We need to fight this fight in a manner that the Democrats have never fought it before. The old playbook that they have, that Ken Martin has, that was written by, I don't know, somebody in Hillary Clinton's basement, it's over, it doesn't work, all right? We need to start coming up with things like consumers pay tariffs, or tariffs are taxes. These three words, which is what Trump does, right? Build the wall, lock her up, mass deportation now. It's always easy to remember three-word slogans. We need to do the same thing. And that way, when you go to the big box store and then you see that the cost on something that you paid $10 for is now $21, you understand consumers pay tariffs, or tariffs are taxes. We have to let people understand that things are not good. And while all of this is going on, if you read the New York Times article, his favorability ratings are going up. So that's why I don't believe that calling him Taco Trump or whatever they're calling him is making any difference at all.
So you don't think that calling him a chicken, mocking him, might bait him into doing something even more aggressively stupid? That's my concern here.
More aggressively stupid than what's already been taking place?
Like on the tariffs, like he reduced the tariffs and maybe he'll jack them up again because he wants to show what a big, strong man he is.
And if in fact that they don't come to the table, which most analysts believe that they will not, will he not jack the tariffs up again? Simply because it's not about policy. For Trump, it's about power. And he wants everybody to come to him, bend the knee, kiss the ring, and then say, Trump, you're right. You're the most powerful man on the planet. All hail King Donald. What is it that we can do to get back in your good grace?
So is he purposefully erratic and chaotic then?
Yeah, he's always managed through chaos. The Trump Organization, we operated through chaos. He also did the exact same thing at the Trump Organization that he's doing in the White House, which is you pit one individual against another. This is just nothing with Trump is ever new. It's always a rehash of what was done before.
The one thing I was going to say, though, is this was not the Democrats calling him chicken. This was the industry insider, the traders. And he's always had a thing, correct me if I'm wrong, he's always sought the approval of the powerful traders in the Wall Street and the business elites in this country. He covets their attention. He covets their respect, as you said. And so when this name came out, it wasn't coming out as a Democratic punchline. Nobody's campaigning on Donald Trump being a chicken. It's the people who are living day to day on the trading floor who have to guess which way they have to trade or strategize about how they have to trade, are calling Donald Trump a chicken.
And
I would argue
voted for him.
What's that? And a lot of voted for him. And so and that's why I'm saying to you, like, and just to push back on your point, and I don't disagree with you that Democrats need to come up with something better. But this is coming from the industry and the Wall Street and the rich people that he wants to be a part of, and they're telling him you're a chicken.
No, it's coming from the lower level analysts and those that are on Wall Street. It's not coming from the Jamie Dimons. It's not coming from the Steve Schwarzmans. They're not calling him Taco Trump. It's the young traders that came up with the nickname. He doesn't care. And that's the whole point I'm trying to make to the Democratic Party. This is not the strategy that we need in order to ensure 2026.
So I have to ask, who do you think punched Elon Musk in the eye?
Well, there's a lot of reports. I don't know. I mean, it would have been nice.
Do you believe it was X, his son?
No.
You don't buy that?
No.
You don't think he has like a really mean left hook or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Little
Look, for all you know,
toddler?
he threw a fire truck or something at him because Elon is irritating. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, dolls are harder to come by nowadays, so it may not be.
That's true.
Well, it's not that they're not harder to come by. They're just, 2.5 times the expense because they're all manufactured in China.
Yeah. But what do you make of the bromance coming to an end, right? I mean, there's so many layers to this. Let's just start on a personal level, right? Whether or not Doge lives on, what that looks like, what lasting damage he has done. Put that aside for a moment. We'll get into that. Give me your take on the way Donald Trump, and I would argue, used Elon Musk for his money over the course of the last 7 to 8 months, helps him get elected, and then realizes he's been somewhat of a liability because of his quirkiness, the way he behaves, that he's now basically discarding him.
Wow, Eamon, you're like a psychic. I mean, I've been saying this now forever. Donald doesn't care about anyone or anything other than himself. Look at what he did to me, for God's sakes. Guy who was with him for a decade and a half, who literally would have taken a bullet for him, but for him being the one pulling the trigger. I mean, I said from the very start that this bromance was going to come to an end. In fact, I was on a couple of the MSNBC shows, and I'm going to go one step even further again, and I'm going to say Trump will ultimately go after Elon's money next because it bothers him that he is the richest man in the world. Yes, he used him for his money. Now he's going to go and he's going to figure out how Elon, with his companies, took advantage of the United States of America. They're going to turn around, use Doge to go, right? Government efficiency, fraud, waste, and abuse. How is it that he got $7,000 as a credit for every Tesla vehicle that was sold? That's where his billions were made. Well, why should the United States pay for electric vehicles? Pay your own car if that's what you want. So they're going to claw it back. He's going to do to Elon Musk, my prediction, what Mohammed bin Salman did to the other members of the royal family.
So let me ask you a broader question, because you can speak from experience on this. Why is it that so many Trump allies mistakenly assume that the loyalty goes both ways?
Well, they don't.
Well, you did.
No, I didn't. I always knew that loyalty with Trump, it's like First Avenue, goes one way, but I thought I would be different. I wrote about it in my book, Disloyal.
Does it seem like Elon thinks he's different, though?
100%. And so does Lutnick, and so does Bessent, and so does Marco Rubio, and so does even J.D. Vance. They all think that they're different, that Donald is going to shine the light on them. When push comes to shove,
why?
The perceived...
Why does everybody have this same delusion?
I don't have the answer to that. It's just, he's a cult leader, and we were all indoctrinated.
Y es que no se anda con rodeos, ¿no? Él no dice tal vez, no dice quizás haya tensiones. No, amigos, lo dice claro. Trump va a atacar a Elon Musk. Y, amigos, tiene todo el sentido del mundo, porque pensemos esto por un segundo. Primero, Trump usa a las personas como herramientas. Lo ha hecho siempre. Cohen mismo fue su escudo humano durante años. Lo exprimió hasta que dejó de servirle. Y luego lo tiró como un trapo viejo. ¿Por qué con Elon sería diferente? Segundo, Trump no soporta que alguien tenga más poder que él, que tenga más atención o más dinero que él. Y Musk, para bien o para mal, es símbolo de riqueza, de influencia tecnológica y de memes. Tercero, si Trump, pues bueno, estando en el poder, va a necesitar tarde o temprano un enemigo público. Alguien rico. Alguien exagerado, alguien que, digamos, se aprovecha del gobierno. Elon Musk, con sus créditos fiscales por Tesla, será el blanco perfecto. Y si alguien dice, pero si Trump y Musk son aliados. Sí, amigos, pero eso no significa nada. Trump es experto en usar y descartar. Lo ha hecho con Steve Bannon, lo ha hecho con Rudy Giuliani, lo ha hecho con Mike Pence, lo ha hecho con Michael Cohen. Y sí fue capaz de girarse contra su propio vicepresidente, por ejemplo. ¿Ustedes creen que va a tener piedad con Elon Musk? Además, Trump no cree en la lealtad recíproca. Tal y como lo dice Michael Cohen, ¿no? La lealtad con Trump es solo con un sentido. Para Trump, la gente es valiosa mientras sirva para sus fines. Cuando no lo es, se vuelve prescindible, o peor aún, un enemigo útil. Amigos, esto es una señal de lo que podría venir si Trump sigue avanzando con esta agenda política. Hablamos de una cacería política disfrazada de auditoría fiscal que ya ha empezado. Veremos más que seguro campañas para desacreditar a Musk como un fraude, como el enemigo de Estados Unidos e incluso como un corrupto tecnológico. Y lo más peligroso, ¿no? Un uso selectivo de poder del Estado para poder aplastar a opositores o ex aliados. Señores, esto está clarísimo. Trump va a convertir a Elon Musk en su próximo trofeo de caza. No porque sea lo correcto, no porque tenga pruebas de fraude, sino porque le duele el ego. Porque no va a soportar que otro hombre ocupe los titulares. Y porque, como dice Cohen, Trump solo respeta a Trump. Pero bueno, ¿qué opinan ustedes? ¿Creen que Trump realmente va a perseguir a Elon Musk? ¿O será que esta es una exageración por parte de Michael Cohen? Los invito a que me dejen sus opiniones en la caja de comentarios. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme hasta el final de este video. Recuerda, como siempre, dale like, suscríbete a nuestro canal y comparte nuestro contenido. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.